Hey YouTube, hope everyone's having a great weekend and hope everyone had a good week with their investments and trading and whatnot. Kind of wanted to mention the S&P 500 here. It went flat on Friday, but I think it notched about 5 successive days of green gains. So, it's up a little over 2.4% the past week, so it did pretty well. But today's video, I kind of wanted to mention a stock, actually an ETF that performed even better. So kind of wanted to talk about the wheat stocks ETF, so the ETF MG Alternative Harvest ETF. So a little over $30 right now, and you can kind of see the weekly performance of it, over 12.4%, which I'm really happy about because I did purchase this towards the end of December, kind of basically near its 1-year lows, if you think about it. So purchased at just under 25. So kind of the history with this ETF, for those that aren't familiar with it, it wasn't always a wheat stock ETF. You kind of see it had some prior history, dating up to late 2015. It was basically like a South American ETF dealing with a lot of other companies, but kind of around late December of 2017, it basically changed its holdings to wheat stocks, and you can kind of see the jump here that it was kind of going from 28 up to almost $40, and then kind of seesawing the rest of the year. So like I mentioned briefly in prior videos, it's basically the only American ETF, I believe, that you can. It doesn't have American holdings, but on Robinhood, I think it's the only wheat ETF currently out there. But kind of going through its holdings, Cronos compiles the top percentage of their holdings, almost 14%, followed by Canopy Growth, 8%. Tilray, a little under 8%, and then you got Aurora, Corbis, Organigram, Hexo, CanTrust Holdings, GW Pharmaceuticals, Green Organic Dutchman Holdings. So top 10 right there. Has a total of 35 holdings, so fairly small sized ETF. Doesn't compared to like a NASDAQ or a S&P 500. 35 holdings currently. One thing I wanted to mention about this ETF, which I found out, in this index, stocks that are under 100 million in market cap are not included. So a lot of the small players in the industry are not included. So might be a good or a bad thing, depending what you guys want. A lot of the small players may have some higher growth in the future versus the more established ones like Canopy and Aurora, which are in this index. So maybe a safer option because they aren't, but just kind of something I thought I'd point out. It was pretty interesting. So, really happy with the gain so far. I was up almost 25% at one point Friday, before it kind of leveled off there. But, solid holding for me. Kind of bought it around, I think 7% on my total diversity, but up to 9% now, continuing to grow. So really happy with it, but kind of wanted to talk about individual stocks, cannabis, wheat stocks I have been following and are on my watch list. So kind of the biggest one that everyone talks about is Canopy Growth. So, Constellation Brands, which I sold off, and I am planning to get back in on that. They own about, I believe it's 38% last time I checked. Might be a little more now, but still under 50. They have a significant minority stake in Canopy. So you guys can kind of see Canopy's growth for the last week has just been phenomenal. This is a stock I own in my Roth for the long term. Got in around the $32 cost basis back, when was this? Basically back last August, so around here. But has done really well for me, and pretty comfortable holding this for the long term. So we got Canopy there. Then we got Aurora Cannabis. It's kind of also in the top 3 of wheat stocks. You guys can kind of see the price earnings ratio 33. It's pretty reasonable compared to a lot of the others where they're in over the hundreds, like a Tilray and ones like that. And then we have Altria here. So Altria has been in the news lately. Basically, they've a lot of shorts have attacked their stock. Negative news. Their CEO and I believe it's the co-CEO are actually stepping down, which is there were some fishy investments they had in some other smaller companies, so they didn't want to get entangled in that. So their CEO is stepping down. So market kind of treated that favorably the past week, up 11%, 5% on Friday. So we got Altria there. So those are kind of the top three. Another one I wanted to mention, obviously, is Constellation Brands, which has a stake in Canopy, but also another couple. I want to mention the first one, Cronos. So Cronos is one of those big ones, obviously the top holding in MJ. Altria, not too long ago, invested a small stake in them. So, kind of the tobacco industry being involved within the cannabis industry. And one thing I did want to mention, stocks like Philip Morris and Altria, those tobacco companies are also in that ETF. So it does have a little bit of exposure to those kinds of companies as well. So, whether you're a fan of those, whether you're not, just kind of thought I'd mention that as well. So we got Cronos there. And then we got Altria. So, I think this is like a great stock to own in a IRA. You're going to be reaping the dividends for something like this. Obviously, there's the, people don't want to invest in tobacco kind of attitude towards a company like this. So, they're kind of branching off to other avenues right now, investing in Cronos, buying a stake in Juul. I believe they purchased Juul, or no, I believe they just bought a stake in those e-cigarettes. So, Juul pods and all that. So, Altria kind of down under 50. So if you guys are looking for like a high yielding dividend stock, this might be it. And you got some growth exposure to the cannabis industry. So, kind of the quick rundown of just the ones I'm looking at. Obviously, Tilray's been in the news, especially last summer when it IPO'd and just kind of shot up to the moon and then back down. So, reached 300 at one point, and then kind of has been leveled off at this point. But I think it's overvalued. Kind of see the ratings there. It's half buy, half hold. So. Tilray, not a stock I'm comfortable with right now. Pretty comfortable with sticking with the big three of Canopy, Aurora, and Altria, and potentially even Cronos now, since they got some a big backer by them. So that's kind of just a quick rundown. There has been news, about companies like CocaCola or Pepsi investing in cannabis, but they have no interest at the moment. Just kind of unfortunate. A lot of those investors are maybe looking forward to a Coca-Cola who's just been kind of stagnant for the last couple decades. Growth wise, still a great company, still great stock and all, but where's their growth coming from right now? I know they've purchased healthier beverages. I believe Powerade is under them. A couple natural water brands and whatnot. So, Coca-Cola, people saying maybe they'll do something with that. But yeah, that's kind of a quick rundown on those stocks. You guys can kind of see Constellation here. So sold at 160. Would love to get in again under 160. Once the wash rules don't apply end of January. So you guys can kind of see basically sold it this December 31st. So can't rebuy it until basically the end of January. So beginning of February. So yeah, just kind of a Constellation there for you. I still think this is a great growth story in the long term, especially with their investment in Canopy, and hopefully they continue selling off their some of their smaller wine brands, which they're putting that money to growth avenues elsewhere within Corona, Modelo, and now cannabis. So that's Constellation for you, and kind of other stocks I wanted to run down. So yeah, if you guys are interested, believe the safest thing is an ETF, and fortunately there's one that exists. You're gonna get some nice growth. Yeah, some of your holdings are gonna outperform others, but you're gonna probably still beat the market. I mean, especially in a high growth industry such as this. So, ETF there for you. $30, probably buy a couple dozen shares and just hold it. So that's kind of it for today. Just kind of quick rundown there. Weekly performance. As you can see, it's kind of got these spikes because of the QQQ call I have. So low volume and all, so causing that. But yeah, good performance. Starting to rack up some green days. Obviously earnings are coming up in the not too distant future, and tech companies reporting, all that, and hopefully some good things happen, and everyone gets some good gains. So thank you for watching, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. So I look forward to talking to you guys soon. All right, bye.